Hello everyone, this is Tim with Paintball Tek. Today I'm going to go over a quick rebuild video of the WarGames Ergo Regulator. This is WarGames high pressure regulator that came on some of their Autocockers, some of the STOs and things around the early 2000s. So, to start out, you are going to have to remove the Cclip from the bottom and also the cap at the top of the reg. We're just going to go ahead and start with the bottom of this reg. So, Cclip comes out with Cclip pliers. This clip only serves one purpose. It's basically just to keep the screw in the bottom of the regulator. It doesn't even really need to be put back in, honestly. To get the screw out, you're going to use a 1/4 inch Allen key. It just unscrews out the bottom of the reg like that. Inside the reg, next is going to come out the reg seat piston. Then also, doesn't want to come out, I guess it's stuck to the top hat. There's also a spring in there. To get to those pieces, you're going to have to pull the piston and spring stack out of the top of this. Now, easy way to do this is to get a vise with a couple blocks of wood, clamp onto the threads, and you can spin the body off. Otherwise, you can get special tools like this. This is a set of vice grips that's modified to grab onto ASA threads. I believe Ryan Stanchfield still makes these. I got this set from him a long time ago. This loosens the cap off the top. And then inside you will see the main piston, and it will also have the bellbow springs underneath it. To get that out, the easiest way to do it, hold this solidly, give it a couple of whacks against the table, and your piston will come out. The Belleville springs, in these rigs, there are 7 Belleville washers, and they all stack opposite against each other. So, the easiest way to do it is just keep them on the piston and set that aside. Then out of the bottom will come your spring and top hat piece. Normally these are 2 separate parts like that. So, set those aside. Then the last piece inside is the small O-ring that seals against the bottom of the stem. This usually has to be picked out with a dental pick or something similar. That's everything inside the rig. Now, you're going to want to use a cloth or towel or something to clean out the grease or oil that's inside the housing as best you can. And then we're going to go ahead and pull all these seals off and start replacing them. Oops. Also be sure to clean any old grease or oil off of these parts as well. Now the only other piece inside here that can be replaced besides the seals is the reg seat puck, which is a polyurethane seal. These can be purchased through paintballgateway.com if you need one. They can be dug out of this housing with a sharp dental pick if you need to replace it. This one seems like it's okay. It's still relatively flat, doesn't have a really big indent in it. So we're going to go ahead and leave that one in there for now. And then we're going to go ahead and start replacing seals. So on the top of the regulator, you're going to use a 015. This could be either a 70 or 90 durometer. I prefer to use a 90. A little bit stiffer, lasts a little bit longer. The brown seal that goes on the bottom of this housing is a 018. That just goes on there like that. these two can be set aside. This O-ring on your main piston is a 113. That can be set aside. The green O-ring that's on the reg seat housing is a 011, number 11. And then the last O-ring to be replaced is the first one to go into the reg when you're rebuilding everything, which is the number 8. You can always check the size of that O-ring by trying to fit it onto the piston. It should fit snugly onto the piston tip. Now inside the regulator, in the very bottom, there is a groove that this O-ring will sit in. You can just drop it in, and if you're lucky, it'll just fall in place. If not, you can use a small pick or a Allen key or something like that to set it where it needs to be. Then put a little bit of oil. I've got this handy dandy dripper bottle, however, any standard oil bottle, you can just put a couple of drops of oil down there like that. Next comes the brass top hat. Now if your reg is sitting upwards like this, the top hat goes in with the top hat piece, the top of the top hat facing upwards. Best way I've found to do this is to use an Allen key or a punch or a pick or something and put it on so that you can drop it down and make sure that it falls in place so it stays indexed properly. Then on top of that goes your spring, which just presses down in place. Then your reg seat housing, you want to put a little bit of oil on that O-ring. That drops in reg seat down. And then the adjuster screw goes in after that. Use the 1/4 inch wrench to tighten it down. Now, you don't want to tighten this down too far, just until you feel the tension stop. That's once it compresses the spring all the way. And then that should zero the reg out completely. And then you can adjust from there when you put it back on the gun. Then, if you want to, you don't have to, you can put the C-clip back in the bottom, like that. Now for the top of the reg, if these came off and fell out of whack, the best way to put them on, remember that there's 7 total washers. You want to have it so that the bottom washer faces with the cup down to the bottom. So stack them facing upwards, downwards, upwards, downwards, upwards, downwards, and then the last one's going to be cup facing upwards, like that. And you're going to want to grease this O-ring. This is a lightweight silicone grease. This is down 7. However, down 33 will work. Also a little bit of oil. And then I like to put oil on the inside of the regulator housing as well to give it a nice smooth surface that O-ring can glide on. Lube does not hurt these parts ever. And then the other trick is using an Allen key or a punch or something to seat this reg piston into the housing. And also put a little drop of oil on the small part of the piston, because that's going to seal inside against that number 8 O-ring at the bottom. So with this held up, I like to bring the body down on top of it so you're not disturbing the order of those bevel springs. And then you can just kind of wiggle it around until it falls in place in the bottom of the reg housing there. Then put a little bit of oil on this number 18 O-ring on the top of the reg housing, and screw this back together. You can just do this kind of hand tight. It makes it easier to get this open in the future if you need to. And then I'm going to wipe all the excess oil or grease clean from the outside. And that is your rebuilt Ergo regulator. Now this does have 2 ports on the outside. Both of these ports are inlet ports, so you can position this macro fitting on either of these and it will achieve the same goal. Whichever one does not have the macro line should have a plug in it. So, thank you very much, guys. Have a good day.